thanks to Haggerty's. Music Works, the retailer across town. I'm going to stop saying that at some point, but it's fun to do for now. I am Matt Trask. My thanks to Black Hills Blend. Jordan and Kendall set us up with Americanos today. And my thanks to Black Hills Rock and Roll Institution, Bruce Neubert, for being on the show. How are you? It's nice to see you, Bruce.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Matt.
You bet. So this is the show all about guitars and amps and our favorite instrument. Ian St. Ian from The Rock Show on the Bob and Tom Show would say we're not wankers today. We do, in fact, have a Gibson and a Marshall, and they are super beautiful, both of them. Why don't you tell us about you, Bruce, and your musical influences?
About me, all my early memories were around music.
Okay.
As a little kid, listened to my parents' albums. They liked jazz and Henry Mancini, and I got to like that. Then I talked him into getting me an Elvis Presley album, like some of his early stuff. And it took a little while, but I discovered the Beatles, and then kind of went from there. And then the English bands, and then the American bands.
Sure.
And I started playing after I went to see my first concert. Was when I was 12. I saw Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Wow.
And it was so exciting because I would run home from school every day to watch them on TV on where the action is. And they were actually going to be in Sioux Falls when I was there, so I got to go see that, which was pretty exciting. And then a few months later, there was a toy guitar in the house of my brothers who we never played with. And I started messing around with it, and I worked up a little Paul Revere and the Raiders lick from some kicks, and then I started playing guitar. And I had decided I didn't think I was going to be good enough to play. I didn't think I could play chords or anything, because I tried messing around with that, and I just thought, this is too hard. But then I went to another concert the next year. I went to Love and Spoonful.
Okay.
And saw this opening act that was from the area, Steve Ellis and the Starfires, and after watching them, I just thought, this is incredible. These guys, they're not from Los Angeles or London or New York. They're just local guys, and they're great. And so maybe you're just really inspired to go back and really start trying at it again.
Pick up that toy guitar again.
Well, and I got a $15 no-name classical, and messed around with that for a while. Then a Tisco Del Rey, which you did back then, and then got in my first band, and Ulysses, and then eventually into a band called Lonely Mountain when I was in high school. And we were traveling the 5-state area.
Really?
Yeah.
And you played guitar in those early bands? Were you ever the bassist or the drummer?
No.
The trombonist?
I wanted to be a drummer originally,
Yeah.
but it just didn't work out.
Tell us about a side note that we haven't talked about on this show yet, but it is about all things musical. Those first shows you went to, Paul Revere and the Raiders and Love and Spoonful, how was the sound in those shows?
Probably not that good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what they had for a PA. I know the year following Love and Spoonful, I actually kind of noticed the PA. It was just at one of the concerts, and it was just a Bogan system with 2 columns on each side.
Oh,
which
okay.
Wouldn't even probably suffice for side fills these days.
Right.
But you'd hear the natural sound of the amplifiers. I don't think that they were miking the amplifiers. And I don't know if they were miking the drums, but it was so exciting just to be there.
Right.
And that these people that you'd read about in the magazines.
Sure.
And
was that like in a high school auditorium sort of thing?
No, it was like the Sioux Falls Arena.
Okay. Yeah. How many seats? Would you have any idea of knowing that?
10,000.
10,000 seats, maybe. Huh. And you don't exactly recall about the sound, but you were so excited and you could hear some noise anyway.
Well, music was just what consumed me.
Sure.
As a little kid and on up, And
were either of your parents musical?
Yeah, my dad actually was a teacher, and he taught music among other subjects.
Okay. Yeah. Did he play guitar?
No.
No.
He sang.
Okay.
And my mom played piano.
All right.
And she could do a good boogie woogie, as I recall.
Oh, really? And we had a conversation last week on the show about a small conversation about parents expressing reluctance to let their progeny join bands. How were your parents about that?
You know, surprisingly good. Thinking back, I mean, when we were in high school, we were renting a van and heading off to parts unknown on Friday afternoon.
Next question here. A Tesco Del Rey was your first guitar?
First
electric guitar. Do you recall what color that was?
It was a Sunburst.
It was a Sunburst, okay.
Kind of like a small hollow body.
Okay, so 2 pickup models then? And what was your first amplifier?
An Ampeg Jet.
Wow.
Which was actually a pretty good amp. I
Yeah.
probably should have hung on to.
And now you've been in several bands over the years. Right now you're in the band Pumpin' Ethel.
Pumpin' Ethel. And also do some acoustic work like with Lightning Creek. And I've done some shows with James Van Nuys.
Okay.
And whatnot.
And Pumpin' Ethel, would you describe as a rock and roll cover band?
Yeah. We started off doing a lot of newer rock, and we've kind of gravitated more toward, I guess I'd say, arena rock. You know, that just stuff that a lot of people know. That's just
Ray that we have here starting with this guitar. Tell us about this guitar.
It's a 2006 Les Paul Standard.
Okay.
I bought it at the end of 2006, but I am the third owner. I got it from a farmer in Wisconsin who had it for a short period of time, and he got it from someone in Washington State, and they bought it from a dealer in New York State. But I found out about it, and I saw it, and I thought it looked pretty interesting, and wound up making a deal. And it's a Gibson Les Paul, and a kind of a light Sunburst. You can see it's kind of gotten a little worn over time. I had to replace a couple of knobs.
Okay.
The knobs keep cracking on it, but that's okay. And the pickups are just a low output humbucking pickup with Alnico 5 magnets. And over tuners. It's a mahogany body and neck. It's got kind of a slim, kind of a 60s style neck.
Okay. And very brief history. When they would have Gibson Les Paul as a mahogany body with a maple top, and when the maple top was less attractive, they would paint it. And when it was more attractive, it would be this transparent Sunburst.
You can cover a lot of wood sins with paint.
I actually asked if it was an R9 when I came in.
No, it's not an R9.
Because it looked like a reproduction of the famous 59 Les Paul. And yeah, you've worn the pickups just right. The pickup covers, I hope that shows on the camera.
Yeah. They're properly gunked.
Properly gunked. Yes, that's what we want to see here on Old Faithful. Tell us about this amp, and then we'll go to the pedalboard. I was curious about Marshall amps because so many of my favorite guitar players were playing through them, like Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck, Ritchie Blackmore, Jimmy Page, etc., Paul Kossoff, but you didn't really see many Marshalls around here, and they were kind of expensive. And I went on tour when I joined Bowl of Lightning. We went on tour with Crazy Louie and Wild Cherry, which was all girls except for their lead guitar player at that time, and women. Sounds like a good time.
Well, it was a really fun tour. It was 3 bands on tour. We had a great time. But the guys in Crazy Louie said, Bruce, if you want to play through, because they had a late 60s Marshall stack.
Oh.
And they said, if you want to play through that, you sure can. I'm like, sure. So I plugged into it, and I had a Fender setup at the time, a really nice Fender setup, a couple of blackface amps, but I plugged into that Marshall, and it was a whole new level. And at that time, Bowl of Lightning, we played a lot of school gymnasiums, municipal auditoriums, some outdoor shows, a lot of bigger things, but we didn't ever mic the instruments.
Sure.
Maybe a mic on the kick drum was about as far as we got with that. And so you had to have an amp that would cover the area at least as much as possible.
Right.
So I was in the process of saving up money to buy a bigger amp, and I was between some sort of a Marshall and maybe a Fender quad reverb. And I've been kind of going back and forth because I could get the quad reverb for quite a bit less money. But I know I woke up one morning and I thought, I'm going to get the Marshall. And
Yeah.
So I drove to, I called Marguerite's Music in Moorhead, Minnesota, because they had Marshall at the time.
Okay.
And I took the band van and drove all the way up there. They had said that they had one.
Right.
So I went up there and they had a full stack, but I saw it and I just thought, because I went there to try it out, but as soon as I saw it, I thought, that thing's going to be mine.
Right.
And so I bought this head and an anvil case for it, which is why it's in such shape that it's in. And it had the 412 cabinet. I just got one of the 412 cabinets.
Okay.
And I used that. Jeez. See, I bought this in 1979.
Wow.
It was made in 1976
Okay.
because we found a date on the chassis where it was inspected. And I used that for the rest of my period in Bold Lightning, and then I started a band called RPM, and we played all over the place.
How many watts is it?
100.
It's a 100-watt amplifier.
It's
a
2203, I guess is the model.
Okay. And what is the speaker in it?
It's a Celestion Sidewinder.
Sidewinder.
It's not a speaker that's well known, but I think it mates up with the head pretty nicely. Just a little pedal train. The first in the chain is a Vox Clyde wah-wah.
Okay.
And Clyde, that's named for Clyde McCoy, who was a trumpet player. And he had a song called, I believe it was Wah Wah Blues. And he was actually one of the McCoys. You know, you had the Hatfields and the McCoys that
Right.
feuded in Kentucky for generations. He was one of those McCoys. A
Okay.
little sideline there. And then MXR Phase 90, just a standard Phase 90. It kind of gets the evil swishing sound, as I call it. And onto the full tone, full drive 2, which is an overdrive pedal. It's probably similar to a Tube Screamer TS 808,
Okay.
kind of a lower gain Tube Screamer. And then there's also the Marshall Shredmaster distortion pedal,
Ooh.
which it's an English-made one, and that's the best distortion pedal I think I've ever played through. And I run the gain maybe a little over half, and it just gives me a really nice, pleasing sound. And then just a straightforward, just a Boss digital delay, the DD3. You can just look at it very quickly, and you can just tell by the knobs kind of about where you're at. And so everything's pretty simple. It gives me whatever I need.
Billy Gibbons says, change your settings. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Neubert.